Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this little guy right here. This is the Long Island Watches Islander ISL-01. First off, though, I want to thank very much my Patreon patrons for making it possible for me to just pick up a $300 watch on a lark because, hey, it seemed like a good idea at the time. In fact, I did it during the middle of the Gear Geeks Live podcast. And as a matter of fact, I also want to thank my buddy Nathan, who flagged this guy for me some time back and then highlighted during that freaking podcast that they were back in stock, requiring me legally, I guess, to order it right then and there. I have a problem. So anyways, there you go. Next thing, let's do some size measurement real quick. This guy will measure in millimeters because that's the way that things work. Right now it is at 41.2 millimeters. Actually, it will always be that way. These don't have a tendency to change size overnight. Here it is. The lug-to-lug distance on this guy is running around 46 millimeters. So it's a very wearable watch. The overall thickness on it, a little bit thick. We're looking at 14 millimeters right there. The band size on it is a 22 millimeter band, and the overall the width of the window, so to speak, is 31 millimeters. So this is not a small watch particularly, but it's also not huge. I guess I should measure give the size people are interested in. I think I might have done that already, but it's about 40 millimeter in diameter. There is a smaller version, a 38 millimeter one, but I decided to go for the 40 because I thought that would be more relevant to a lot of folks out there in the world. Then finally, what the heck is this brand? Long Island Watch is actually a watch dealer. They sell watches, obviously, because they sold me this one, but more importantly, they sell other people's watches, but they've recently started working to create this own brand. They did the Islander stuff, which in a lot of ways feel like modified Seiko sorts of things, but they're their own branded. And so this is the only Long Island Watch is the only place you're going to get this guy, but that's where we got going on here. So let's go ahead, jump into the good, the great, the bad, the ugly of this very interesting little watch right here. So the good side, to start with, this has a Gmt bezel. So what that basically means is that this little bezel here, I can adjust to whatever timing I would like. So right now it is set so that it matches my current time. It is 6 p.m. So it's it's a little bit after 6:30. It's 6:38, 37-ish. Anyways, I digress. We can see, though, that the hour hand is right between 6 and 7, as you might predict. However, by rotating this bezel around, let's say I wanted to figure out what time it is in Belgrade. I got a collaborator who is often in Belgrade, so I happen to know that the offset relative to Pacific Standard Time for Belgrade is about here. So when it is midnight in Belgrade, it is 3 p.m. here in the U.S. of the A. And so as a result, I can look very quickly at a glance and see, okay, 6 p.m. here. That means it's about 3:30 in Belgrade. I probably shouldn't expect an email back for a couple hours. And so that's an important thing. This can actually be a very handy function. It allows you to very quickly do GMT math without even thinking twice about what time it's going to be in a given place. So I appreciate that very much. And it actually has a very nice bezel feel to it. It's very easy to rotate, but at the same time, it doesn't move around a lot. I appreciate this bezel a lot. I think it's a great feature, and I'd like to see GMT bezels more often on watches. Next thing, this has a fine movement. It is the Seiko Nh36 movement, which is, I believe, the same as the 4R36 movement in the Seiko line, but it is a self-winding movement, meaning it has an automatic rotor in the back there. You can't see anything, so I don't know why I'm showing you this, but hey, look, it's a case back. I can even polish it up a little bit. See, freaking case back right there. But anyways, you can see here that you can't see anything there, but it is a hand-winding movement as well, so you can, wind the watch just by rotating the crown, which is not constant in Seiko's line of movements. It is a hacking movement, meaning that if I pull this out of here, I can stop the second hand with quick set day and date, as well as a day and date display. So right now it is Saturday, December 28th as I'm doing this. As you can see there, I pull the crown all the way out and I stop the second hand. That's good. And so it's got a 40-hour power reserve as well, which is not the longest thing in the world, but at the same time does the trick, right? And so this is a fine movement. It works quite well, and a lot of Seiko watches do really well with it. And so seeing it in use here is a beautiful thing. So that's good. Next thing, this guy is using a Sapphire Crystal on here. This is just one of those things that makes a small difference, but it can actually reduce the scratchitude pretty substantially. I'm a big fan of Sapphire Crystals, and it's something I very much miss in Seiko's line, so it's good to see them doing it here. Next thing, this is a 200-meter water-resistant watch. They say that right there, which basically means you don't have to worry about water. That's a beautiful thing. It is a very nice bracelet here. You can see here it has some polished side links, basically, although the rest of it is completely brushed. And more importantly, screw-down links. That's right. You unscrew these little guys, and there's a little screw there that's attached to a bar, and that bar goes in the middle. These are super easy to adjust. All you need is a relatively small screwdriver. And next thing you know, well, a very small flat hat, as a matter of fact, but next thing you know, you've got everything adjusted beautifully. I freaking love screw-down links, and this particular variety of them is pretty excellent. So I am a big, big fan of good screw-down link bracelets, as opposed to something where you have to press the pins through, like, for instance, on this Seiko Samurai right here, where you've got the conventional approach. This is just better, flat out. Then finally, on the good side, this has great lume. I'm going to use a pretty powerful flashlight right off camera here and charge up the lume for you, so you can see exactly how powerful this is. Yeah, this is good lume. This is real good lume. And you can see that not only are the hour, minute, and second hands loomed along with the hour indices, but also your GMT bezel is loomed, which is, it's not crucial, certainly, but at the same time, it is very, very nice because if you need that function, you can read that at night just as easily as you can read it during the daytime. This lume is just great. It's absolutely all night long, very visible. Plain as freaking day. The lume on this is stellar. Big fan of the lume. And I'm a lume snob, so that takes something right there. So anyways, to me at least, all that's the good is that it's got great lume, a nice bracelet, 200-meter water resist, sapphire crystal, nice movement, GMT bezel. On the great side, price on this guy, great. $300. Now, that's a chunk of change, certainly. You can get a watch much cheaper than that, but the thing is, sapphire crystal, hacking movement, great lume, nice case finishing overall, and the case finishing, by the way, is just fine. It's not like anything to crazy write home about, but it's got some reflectiveness to it. It's got some brushed areas to it. It's absolutely of value at $300. This feels like a better watch than $300, and I appreciate that very much because the watch world is very often a place where people are constantly ripping our faces off. Why is he showing an Omega? I don't know. But nevertheless, that's an interesting thing, and I very much like this kind of a price point. On the bad side, and by the way, applied indices is a little detail, but you can see all of the indices here are separate from the dial. None of it's painted on. This really, really does feel like a higher end piece than its price gives you. And so, to me at least, that's what's great here, is the price is just absolutely excellent. On the bad side, a couple of little nitpicks. To start with, the GMT bezel. Generally, you want a GMT bezel to be bidirectional because it's much quicker if I wanted to rotate this to Belgrade time to go to 3 this way than it is to go all the way around. But because this is also meant to be a dive bezel, it is unidirectional, meaning it is also a dive bezel on other modifications of this watch because you can get one with a conventional dive bezel here. But nevertheless, I do appreciate a bidirectional bezel with GMT. Not the end of the world, but whatever. Next thing, the clasp on this guy is not amazing. It's just a boring deployant clasp. The reason I don't care for it that much is because, A, there's not all that much adjustability here, but B, there's no quick adjust. What I mean by that is I like a toolless quick adjust in a watch band, and given this is a much more expensive watch, but this gives you the ability to very quickly adjust the amount of bracelet that you got there, and if your wrist swells up a little bit, make that a little easier. Mind you, you can find quick adjust clasps that are actually, that fit this just fine. I've got an aftermarket quick adjust on this Samurai right here. It's a little bit thicker, but still, this one's from Strapco, but you can find them elsewhere as well. But nevertheless, I'd like to see that being included just on any new watch. I think the only people who don't want a quick adjust are the people who haven't had one yet. So there's that. Speaking of bracelet adjustment, it's a fine bracelet, but there is no half link on it. It's all full-size links. And I'm a big fan of half links just because they can be the difference between a watch that fits mostly okay and a watch that fits great. And they give you the ability to, even with these quick adjust holds, to make sure that on any given moment, most of the time you're right in the middle. That way, if you swell up a little bit, or you can always adjust up and down. So I'm a big, big fan of having a half link in there, and although I was able to get this guy roughly adjusted to my wrist, that's something they should include. It does make things a little nicer. Next thing, this guy, unfortunately, is not a very accurate watch. For mechanical people, mechanical watch people, that is, mechanical people, I don't know what their opinions would be here. I don't know that they exist yet. But anyways, if you find any androids, ask them. But for me, I'm not super okay with 9 seconds a day fast. On average, using a watch timing app, this guy ran about 9 seconds a day fast on the wrist. If you actually put it on the time grapher, you get a pretty high positional variance. You get, plus 15 on the high end, plus 3 on the low end. And you could probably regulate it. I could probably get in there and kind of rework the accuracy a little bit. and potentially get it into a much nicer range. But the thing is, that accuracy isn't astounding. 10 seconds a day is pretty reasonable. That means by the end of the week, you're a minute off, and that's not great. I'm sorry, mechanical watch people. We should demand better. And just for reference, your average quartz watch is going to be running like 0.1 seconds a day off. So this is definitely an area in which mechanicals have a major disadvantage. Then finally, on the bad side, this guy is pretty thick. This is definitely a thick little watch. I'd sort of hoped that it would be a little bit thinner, a little bit smaller, but no. It's definitely up there, and as a result, it's a little heavy on the wrist, and it's also got a relatively high center of gravity. So I'm not a big fan of that. That's definitely something I could see reduced and removed in maybe a future version. So to me, at least, that's what's bad here, is it's pretty thick, poor accuracy, no half link. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the crown guards are a little bit ugly, just because it's very hard to get at this little knob with those crown guards right there. They are very effectively protecting the crown, but at the same time, dude, I need to get to the crown sooner or later, and so it just makes it a pain every time I gotta get up in there. And there's no quick adjust clasp, and the Gmt bezel is unidirectional, which is not really how you want a Gmt bezel to work. On the ugly front, I was borderline on whether this is bad or ugly, but if you take a look at this watch, it's not super original looking. The handset looks very Seiko. The dial looks a little Seiko as well. The bezel looks kind of Rolex-y, I guess. I don't really quite get what this watch is supposed to be. It feels like it's not a super original design. It's sort of a pastiche of a bunch of other watches out there, and although that's fine, a lot of watches are homages, and one could make an argument that every watch, every dive watch is going to be similar to every other dive watch in some way. I mean, I can put a couple of them up here, and yeah, they're all going to have some similarities, but this one really feels like I'm not quite sure which Seiko it is, and it's not close enough to be, an outright ripoff of a Seiko, but it feels like it was pretty heavily inspired. So, to me at least, that's what's ugly, is that it just doesn't feel super original. Final conclusion, this is actually a shockingly good watch for the money. I'm very, very impressed by it, because you get good features, a solid movement, a sapphire crystal, very good robustness, a good bracelet, and very, very good loop. Mind you, it's missing the quick adjust. That's something I'd love to see in here. The crown guards are a little weird. There's no half link. The accuracy is, it's pretty thick, and it looks like every other Seiko, but not exactly like any of them. But that's okay, because this watch is good. In fact, this watch is enough. And I say that not lightly. This watch is enough, I think, for pretty much any reasonable human. By any reasonable measure, this does what you need. You throw in a quick adjust clasp, and this has pretty much everything a human would want from a watch. I mean, you are pretty much set with this guy. And especially if you don't wear it every day, the accuracy, it'll run and down every so often, so the accuracy won't bother you. But if I weren't an accuracy snob, and I didn't already have some options that I like a little bit more, and mind you, this is a much more expensive watch by nearly, I'm not even going to think about that. But nevertheless, this is a good watch. This could very easily do. This could be my one watch, and I probably could be happy with. The accuracy would bug me, but if I got it regulated, even that could be fixed. This is really, really excellent. But then the price hits, and that's the really important thing here. $300 is not a lot of money on a wristwatch. I mean, for a lot of people, that's a lot of money on a wristwatch, but in the watch game, this is a freaking value. You are in quartz country price-wise, and this is at that low end of the price range where mechanicals start to make sense. And considering this is roughly the same price as like a Seiko SKX, which is just not a good movement. It's utter trash, hacking, non-hand winding. We should not accept this anymore. We can do better, people. Let's do better. And this is a way to do better for roughly the same price. So given that this is enough, and given that this is $300, which is a value, this is a gem. It is a great little watch. And, if somebody said to me, Nick, I want a mechanical watch and I want to pay $300 for it, this is it. This is a great choice. This is a really excellent watch for more than $300, but at $300, it's a really, really good one. And so this is a very, very nice watch. It is a damn good value, and it is for most people probably going to be enough. And so this is a watch that I'll easily recommend. Get it? Because it's an Islander? Isle? No? Okay. Anyways, hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.